What's up, everybody? Bro with the stickers back at it again. So, full disclosure, I tried to record this video 2 days ago, and guess what? I didn't, whoops, accidental beep. I didn't check my audio sources. So I recorded for about 25 minutes with literally zero sound. Suffice it to say, I was not super happy. But, you know, what can you do? You can't really do anything about it. I was pretty mad though. I'm not gonna try to act like, oh, it's no big deal. The temperature was about to drop from like 70 to 30 in a matter of hours, and I didn't know if I was gonna get like another decent day out of this to make a video. So hey, all you kids out there looking to start some vlogging, test your audio. Again, I'm doing a good job of being a great example of silly mistakes that you don't want to make, because it's going to cost you a lot of time, especially when the weather's not the best and you're trying to just like plan things out, like, oh, what's a good day to take a ride and record something. Actually get an idea in your head of something that's worth talking about, and then you go and be a real jabroni like this guy and just completely forget to check. So I tested it this time, and it's recording now. Verified. Ooh, lots of cars. I guess I'll just wait on this one. So little Shorzy. Any Shorzy fans out there? So dumb. Give your balls a tug, tit fucker. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on here. I might need to bleep that. Kiddos. What the hell was I even talking about? Doesn't even matter. Probably not. Back to the subject. As I'm completely lost in thought. See, this is what happens. This is why people write scripts for these things, and I'm the worst because I refuse to do that, because that feels like work, even though it would produce better content. But what I was going to discuss was a little bit more about beginner stuff, mostly because on my last video I was actually shocked that anybody watched it, number one. Number two, people actually engaged and left some comments and asked some questions, and I was like, man, you know what, maybe there's room for a little bit more of this from like a noob, from a little bit of a different perspective. But yeah, so a lot of people had questions about like, how could all of those problems have been avoided, or trying to get started or wanting to get started on any of this. And I think, you know, we talked about imposter syndrome, but I think another thing to think about is that people often wonder when they're going to go into anything. And I think the example I'm going to use is like when you start out going to the gym. Like if you've never worked out for the first time, that whole thing can be intimidating. Stepping into the gym, you feel like everyone there is in like incredible shape, and you just look like garbage, and you don't feel healthy, and you feel like you don't look healthy. But I'm throwing this one out there. Be happy with yourself. Don't judge yourself, especially based on others. And you look great no matter what. Just remember that. You look great. And if you feel great, and trust me, you look great. Don't let your preconceived notions get to you. You're good to go. If you want to try to be fitter for yourself, try to maybe change a little bit of your lifestyle and habits for yourself to be healthier, to get certain numbers where they need to be. Not even talking about on a scale. I had to deal with some cholesterol stuff myself. A lot of people deal with a whole bunch of things, blood sugar and things. So hey, if you want to try to change the way your body is from a health perspective, that's awesome. Go for it. Do it by whatever method you need to do it by. Now back to my point. This is a judgment-free zone, folks. We ain't judging nobody. Back to my point being that stepping into any kind of new scenario is like daunting, right? Like, am I gonna fit in with these people, or are people gonna be judging me? So point number one, are you gonna fit in? Well, people whose opinions are worth something, as soon as they even hear that you're trying to do something to be better, to better yourself in some way, even if it's just experimenting with any kind of new hobby, those people are going to be thrilled just to see that you're trying to do it. They're going to be happy for you no matter what. So if you start working out, people are like, oh man, that's awesome, right? It doesn't even matter how often you go or anything like that. If you're like, I'm just trying to be healthier, I'm, feel a little bit stronger and whatnot, then people who actually care about health and fitness are going to be like cool with that. And exactly the same situation with people who ride. Like, yeah, there are judgmental assholes out there, and they're going to be like that no matter what. But for the most part, if someone who rides hears you say you ride, they're not going to think about judging you. They're going to be like, oh, sick, I have a connection with this person, and I want to talk to them about it. Like, they're going to be like, oh, you ride? Really? That's awesome. They're going to be hyped that you ride. Like, that's a dope thing. Like, oh, what kind of bike do you ride? And then you guys may hate each other forever because you ride different kinds of bikes, but that's a different problem entirely. But as far as just being a rider, I think people respect other people for just doing it. So yeah, so don't worry about that. Don't worry about if you're gonna like fit in or whatever, man. The community is more like, hey, you do this thing, we're all doing this thing together. Like, there are risks, there's responsibilities, there's a lot of fun to be had and a lot of cool people, so they're just gonna be respecting you doing that, just doing your thing and being a part of the community. So I wouldn't really worry about that too much. If that's a hang up that you're having about getting started on riding, like, man, don't worry about that. People get hyped when they hear other people ride. It's cool. It's a really cool thing. It's a pretty inclusive community for the most part, as long as you stay away from the shitheads. I feel like it's like that for most communities, but just throwing that one out there for this one. But another thing is this. A lot of people feel like, oh, I want to get into this thing and I like this thing, but I don't want to make it my whole entire life. And that's totally fine too. Like, have every hobby in the world. You don't need to just be someone who rides like motorcycles. Like, that doesn't have to be your entire identity. If it is, that's fine too, but it doesn't have to be. Like, if you're into anime and shit, like, guess what? Be into anime and ride a motorcycle. There are going to be people out there who love anime and love to ride. I'm one of those people. I'm a giant dork weeb. I play video games, but I also work out, but I also watch anime. Like, it's all okay. We could just enjoy the things we enjoy, but you're not going to get shoehorned. Like, you could be a part of this and a part of multiple things, and that Venn diagram is going to overlap in a whole bunch of different ways that you'd probably be surprised about, which is really cool. It's another one of those things, like people who ride motorcycles are people who are just starting out when they're teenagers, and there are people like me who are older who got into it later, finally. But all walks of life, all different kinds of people. Everyone gets to do this. There's no gatekeeping. It's not, you don't have to be a certain way. Like, screw anybody who says that you do. Nobody needs that bullshit. Miss me with that, you know what I mean? So yeah, get comfortable being you, and then you could just do anything, including riding a motorcycle, including starting out vlogging and things like that. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm being rambly, maybe I'm being preachy, maybe nobody feels this way, but I don't know. It felt like something, it was a vibe that I was getting from a few folks. Not even just on like comments on the video that I made, but just like comments on videos in general. And there's always a certain apprehension of like feeling afraid to ask someone because you feel like people are going to judge you for even asking the question, which is so shitty. Like, you shouldn't feel that way. Like, you should be able to ask any of the questions that you want to ask, because that's how you're going to be able to be safe and have fun and have the information that you need to ride in a way that's comfortable for you and fun for you and safe. And like, man, don't ever be, look, I don't care what anybody else says. As far as I'm concerned, on this channel, you got a question, man, you ask that shit. don't not ask. Not having the information is the worst. That's just going to put you in a deficit, and you don't want that. You definitely want to be able to be on the plus side. Having more information, having less is never good. So yeah, throwing that one out there too, as far as getting started on things and being a beginner. This is a cool spot, man. Like, I hope people get engaged here. I hope people can feel comfortable here and actually embrace that. Like, even if other people in comments are trolls and they just hop on and start shitting on your questions, man, fuck them. That's all I gotta say about that, is fuck those people. Again, I'm probably gonna have to bleep a whole bunch of this out, but I feel strongly about that. I feel like more people need to be more inviting. So there you go. That's my piece on that. We're gonna go over this little bridge. I'm actually pretty cold, even though I'm kind of bundled up. It's not exactly warm out right now. It's like 50 degrees, but the wind chill makes it like 40. And I do not have as many layers on as I should, probably. Oh, I'm getting pushed around by the wind. That sucks! Woohoo! Oh, baby. Yeah, be prepared for that. That's another thing about having a smaller bike. Like, I'm not a small dude. I weigh like 200 pounds, but the Ninja 400 is like 370 pounds wet. Man, that wind hits you. You feel it. You gotta be ready to lean into that a little bit. That was kind of fun, though, I'm not gonna lie. It was only fun because I was able to control it. Otherwise, I would have been shitting bricks. Oh man, but yeah, that was fun. Oh, there's Addison Airport right over there. We're in Addison, Texas, suburb north of Dallas. So yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, moving on. So there's like a whole bunch of other stuff that I wanted to quickly just breeze over when it comes to riding and getting started and things to expect and anticipate. Some people have a lot of questions. I know I had a lot of questions when I was first starting about easy, thank you. About like, oh, there's so many questions about counter steering versus like not counter steering, and like at what speeds you should be trying to counter steer and this, that, and the other thing. And man, that gets so complicated so fast, and it's really hard to. You should watch MotoJitsu. Dude is like a mad scientist when it comes to motorcycle physics, and he actually answered me directly on some Instagram question I asked him a while back, and he's such a nice guy where he's like willing to take his time to like teach people. He's got a lot of good books. I think he wrote 3 books. I could be completely wrong. I might just be talking out of my ass, but dude's a writer, and dude knows what he's talking about. And people argue with him too, because people just like to argue about everything and be pedantic about shit. But I will say this, as annoying as it may be to hear this, some stuff just comes with practice. There are things that your body will do naturally on a motorcycle when you get a feel for it over time. So there's a couple of different ways that I would recommend someone go about this, right? So step number 1, big obvious step number 1 is, once you start riding, start slow, start local, and start on roads you know. Riding on roads you know is going to make all of this easier for you. This whole learning process is going to be so much simpler because you're going to be able to just focus on the mechanics of the motorcycle and riding, and less thinking about or worrying about what's going to be happening on the road around. So keep that in mind. Some people might be like, oh, there's no roads like that around where I live. Well, you may need to go find them. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes you got to look for it. Like, I live in a pretty metropolitan area. It's not anything like New York or Boston or Chicago, but I mean, Dallas can get pretty rowdy on them roads, as anybody will tell you. It is insane to ride around here. To even drive in a car sometimes feels like a little bit too much some days. But sometimes you may just need to get in your car, or a car, and go someplace where the roads are quieter and explore those roads. Drive those roads up and down multiple times until you know where all the potholes are, where the lights are, where the entrances and exits are to parking lots and things like that. Like, know the area, then you can go back there on your bike. Then that's where you practice on your bike. You want to practice on roads that do have traffic, because you need to learn how to ride in traffic, right? It's not something that you're going to be able to avoid, because there's cars everywhere all the time. You just got to be prepared to be in it. So light traffic is going to be good. Know the roads, take it slow, and you'll start getting the feel for things. Yeah, I'm yapping a lot, huh? But that being said, I mean it. So there's going to be certain things that you start to get a feel for with the bike. You know, throttle control is another thing. You're going to want, in first gear, you're going to do a lot of manipulating first gear with your left hand, not your right hand. You know, you're going to twist the throttle sometimes, and it's going to feel super jerky. That's why you got to use that clutch. Your clutch is your best friend, especially when you're doing any kind of low speed, anything. You want to have as much minute control over that acceleration as possible, and the clutch is a nice smooth lever that's going to give you that every time. Like the Ninja 400, for example, like this bike, to get it into, like, when you start moving in first gear, like there's a tiny little bit of a sticking point on the throttle, and I've heard this from like a ton of different people too. It's not just my experience. It just sticks at that very first spot. So that could be daunting. So you're going to want to have that clutch engaged to that friction zone. You can just kind of smooth it out. That way, if you go to make a slow turn to kind of do like a 90-degree right-hand turn when you're going slow at a light or something like that, or a left, sometimes when you turn the handlebars, you're going to, like, your wrist might twist, especially when you're getting started and you're not used to like keeping your arm position in a good way. So if you accidentally twist your wrist, guess what? You're giving yourself a whole bunch of throttle that you didn't need to give, and then you're gonna try to compensate for that and correct it, and then dang, you're in a tight spot there, right? So if you just have your hand on this old clutch lever right here, if you feel your wrist start to twist a little bit, well, just like when you're slowing down on the bike and you're coming to a stop, you just yank that in, and now there's no power. Maybe you don't want to yank it, but if you need to stop, you pull it in. If you need to cut the power that you accidentally gave, you pull that clutch in. It's going to disengage the clutch, and then no power, no matter how much you're twisting that wrist. You're just going to rev bomb everybody accidentally. Are you actually trying to get over, my dude? No? Dokie. So yeah, that's like another thing that you're going to just have to get used to. Utilizing both hands is a big factor. Another thing is, like, everyone talks about gear, like AT-GAT and everything else. Oh, we're going to get some bumps. I'm just going to move back over, yoink, and then back over, yoink, check. Okay. You know, all the gear all the time. I'm a big proponent of that, even though I ride in some place that's very hot most of the time. Mostly because there are little things that kick up off the road all the time. How many times you've driven in a car and you heard something blast off of your windshield? Well, that rock blasting off of your face, or your knuckle, or your finger, or your nose, or into your eye is not going to be a good time. So you're going to want to chill on that. You're going to want a helmet. You're going to want gloves that have some armor in them. Same thing with shoes. Good riding shoes, whether they be sneakers or boots, you know, they have armor in the front, armor in the heel, armor on the toe, armor on the ankles, and that toe armor is great for manipulating your shifter. Makes a nice big difference as far as I'm concerned. And another big thing that's going to help you in the beginning is being relaxed. When I was taking the MSF course, the instructor there had to tell me so many times, loosen your arms, breathe, pick your head up. Like, you get so tense and you like crunch in on yourself, and you just, sometimes your nerves get the better of you. And I still feel myself doing that from time to time, but I'll take a breath, shake my arms out a little bit, loosen up, and then you're okay. Your grip on, don't have a death grip on the handles. You want to be nice and smooth and gentle with it, and basically be able to have nice, smooth, easy movements with everything that you're doing, because any kind of herky-jerky nonsense is not the best. Whee! Okay, terrific. Whoop. Yeah, don't want you to kill me, guy. There we go. See, I knew this construction was coming up, and even then, I still maybe didn't make the best choice there. But I knew what was coming up. Wow, oh wow, that's closing off even more. See? This wasn't like this yesterday. Interesting. But yeah, another thing with proper gear is, boy, does the temperature affect you when you ride. You get hot, you get dehydrated. You get cold, you get dehydrated. your muscles can cramp. Oh my God, why is it so... Oh God, this sucks. There was a lot of dirt and gravel on the road there. That is not fun. Yeah, so always be prepared for the weather. I tend to obviously throw with the stickers. All the stickers are on my backpack. I tend to ride with my backpack pretty much all the time for various reasons. One of them is to carry gear with me. Do I need an extra underlayer? Do I need like a balaclava? Is my head getting cold? Is my neck getting cold? Do I need to be able to take a layer off and put it somewhere and store it? Do I have, like my visor that I'm wearing right now, it's got a tint, but it's the middle of the day. What if I'm riding around and then, oh, it's nighttime now? Well, guess what? Then I wouldn't be able to see. So I keep a clear visor in my pack, so I could switch it out if I needed to. There's so many things to keep in mind. I feel like this video's running on really long, so my bad on that. Yeah, I feel like there's so much more to talk about. I want to talk about other things besides like just starting. I want to talk about other things besides just maybe motorcycle stuff. Like, geez, there's a whole world of topics to converse about with you guys, and I don't know, kind of want to get to know you guys and chat about things that you find interesting too. So, yeah, leave a comment. What should we chat about? What questions do you have? Well, what can we get into on this channel? Let's cut it up. Have some fun conversations and keep it breezy, man. So yeah, to close it out, as always, nice talking to y'all. I'll be checking back in again, hopefully soon. Hopefully it's going to be freezing for the next at least 7 to 10 days. So yeah, I'm going to have to be, might not have any good riding opportunities after this for a bit, but I'm going to try to get out there when I can. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys again soon. And yeah, as always, be kind, do good. Catch you on the next one.